Hello, this is National Chess Master R. Rats at chess.com, continuing my video series on the correspondence team match, play between my video lessons group and the team CARPE DIEM. 210 board match. This was down on board 208, and we had a pretty substantial rating advantage, mid 1500s versus about 1200. And our man is jminkler playing annelieseMs. And annelieseMs, you can use some help here, and I'm going to try to offer it here the best I can. Okay, if you've been watching this series, I'm always condemning these rook pawn moves, and this move doesn't really do you any good. Okay, you have all the books and databases available. You can play like a grandmaster for anywhere from 8 to 20 moves if you'll follow mainline theory and have a completely satisfactory game. Now you're pretty much winging it, and you're doing so against a player who is much stronger than you. Also, because you didn't develop a piece or open up any diagonals for your pieces, like normally white plays d4 here and goes into mainline French defense, your development isn't where it should be. Okay, so you want to play d4 and look these games up. Okay, let's move on. So white just plays d4. Now we're kind of in advanced French defense, but white doesn't have d4 in. And this is what black usually plays against the advanced French. And usually white doesn't play f4. Now, what's the drawback with f4 here for white? It's not a horrible move. It does protect the pawn on d4. But let's look at a few things. Number one, it weakens this diagonal where your king probably wants to castle. Number two, you're shutting your bishop in, okay? And the next thing, you're not developing a piece, okay? So black develops a piece, and now you're kind of getting the right idea. You want to get this pawn up to d4, and that's probably what you should play here is d4, but instead bishop b5. And these are pretty much moves black's going to play against in advanced French. And now you go and you give up a tempo, basically. So your pawn has taken 2 moves to get to the a4 square. This didn't have to happen. Yes, your bishop's threatened. You could have made it a trade. You could have developed the queen to protect it. Queen e2, for instance. Queen a4. I mean, just moves to consider, because you want to develop your pieces. Okay. Black has 3 pieces developed, and you moved first, and you only have 1. Okay. Now you tax it, and instead of trading it, you back it up. Now you block your d pawn in. You want to get d4 in. Bishop e2 would have been a better place to go. Okay. Now look, black has 4 pieces out. You have 1. And now you choose to move another pawn. And now that pawn has lost a tempo because it's taken 2 moves to get to c4. Now black gets something he shouldn't even expect to get in a French defense. Black gets a pawn wedged in on d4. White always has a pawn on that square, and you never played it. Also, this is what we call the French bishop. It's a bad bishop because it's usually behind a bunch of pawns on white squares. Well, now suddenly there's a potential diagonal for it. And now you get a piece out. And now white's able to make black's able to make a threat, so you cover that. And now he makes another threat. If you take en passant, that develops the black knight. So your bishop's just been busy running all around the board. It's gone to b5, back to d3, to e4, now to c2. Okay. And I don't necessarily like this move by black because it gives up the b5 square. Maybe white can plunk a knight in there. Okay, it could be annoying. Keep an eye on d6. Anyway, now you've shut your bishop in. Look at the mobility it doesn't have. How's this bishop going to get in the game? How's this bishop going to get in the game? You don't have any. Not only are you behind in development, white, you don't have any active squares for your pieces. And like I said, if you look up the opening in a database, you'll find all the right moves to play. You'll play like a grandmaster forever. Okay, well, not forever, for 10, 15, 20 moves. Now black opts to castle queenside, and now you go and threaten a fork, and you threaten a pawn, so black just chops that knight off. It's no big deal. and suddenly black develops another piece. And look, the entire white queen side is sitting here undeveloped. And we're at move 16. Not a single one of those pieces has come out. But now the inexplicable happens. White plays queen h5, and black doesn't pay attention to what's going on at the board. He probably only looks at what white's trying to do. Oh, he's threatening queen f7, attacking my knight and my pawn. Doesn't even notice that there's a free bishop here. Okay, these are the moves you have to see. Both of you. You know, white gave up a bishop, black didn't take it. Okay, now black saw it was under attack, and now black grabs a pawn, and there's that busy bishop trying to find some mobility. And now black gets another fork. He's crawling all over that. He's attacking the rook and attacking the bishop on c2. So white's game is just in trouble. Now I guess black could just take either one of these, and well, if you take on d3, you might drop the knight on e5, but his move queen c7 is fine, no hurry. Now he takes the rook. But the drawback with taking the rook is that white now misses a good move. White's back in this game. Black has bungled his advantage. The good move is bishop takes e5. This gains a critical tempo on the queen. And it going to give white 2 minor pieces for the rook. Now, not necessarily enough to save the game. Black's got a number of pawns in the center, but white will have an extra piece. After black gets his queen out of danger, queen takes f2. Black has 4 pieces, white has 5. But anyway, he takes the knight on f2 instead, and here once again we have a blunder. Bishop takes g4, gets the piece back. White needs to save his queen, and you just retreat your piece, your bishop, wherever you want to put it. h3, f3, e2, d1. Okay, you know, white's let you back in the game, but you don't see it. I don't know how you calculated this out, but you didn't take on g4. You took the queen. But since you took this, it's a pretty easy continuation to see because the moves are more or less forced. You take a queen, black's going to take a queen. Now you have to calculate. Do you want to save your bishop or take the rook? These are easy to calculate. And when you get to this position, what's happening? It looks like equal number of pieces. Okay, black has a rook, a bishop, and a knight. So it looks like you're okay here, but there's one little drawback. Oops, went too far. Okay, let's try this again. Bishop here. Black is collecting. It's one little drawback in your game. Black is collecting pawns like mad. Black has what, 7 pawns? No, black has all 8 pawns here. All 8 pawns, and white's down to 5. So even though white's restored piece equality, the absence of pawns is going to cost him. And here you probably need to take on c5, but you don't. But at least you finally develop this knight on move 26. And now look, suddenly your bishop on b6 is in trouble. And now the bishop is trapped. So you're losing a piece, plus you're down some pawns. And it's just a routine win for black at this point. There's nothing that can be done here. And those pawns are passed. They're going to be running up the board shortly, and you just don't have anything, any compensation. And the game quickly ends. And here, white decided to resign. So there was definitely room for improvement to start with. You know, look up the openings, okay, and get a reasonable position. Then you'll learn the openings while you're doing it. Okay, let's flip the board, reset, reload the other game. What move will it start it out? Will it start at move 1? No, it doesn't. Look, it takes it almost to the end. Can never tell what move it's going to start at. Please get version 3 out. How many times have I said that? In this game, black just starts losing material and the bleeding doesn't stop. And here once again, coming right up, we see this rook pawn move. I mean, what does this do? This does nothing. White wasn't planning to put anything on b5, okay? Not a thing. Better would have been develop something. Get your bishop developed so you can get castled. Okay, a6, just not a good move. And now white decides to play to give you some double pawns. And bishop d7 would have been better, but now white has a little trick here. It's a theme to put the knight here. The knight guards the bishop, the queen runs away, and you grab the rook. So to compound matters, not only did you not know this trick, hopefully you know it now, you gave white a pawn. So now the queen's got to get out of danger, and white's up a rook. But like I say, the bleeding doesn't stop. There's a pawn, another pawn. And now you unprotect the d5 square, so now there's a fork. A knight is going to go. And you counterattack a bishop, but you don't calculate out. You can't take the bishop because you lose more material, but you do. And then there's a discover check, and now the rook is going to fall with check. And the only legal move that doesn't lose immediately, get you mated, is queen d8. And now, in effect, you're losing your queen for a pawn because that pawn just promoted. So now white has the advantage of a queen and 2 rooks. They both have 3 minor pieces, but white's got a queen and 2 rooks ahead, just like that. Okay, now winning a knight. And, the game's over. There's nearly no point continuing, going any further. But I'll play out the remaining moves. Restricts the bishop, cuts its squares down. Hello. I'm going to take another pawn. Black's running out of chessmen. Oops, there goes a bishop. Now white's ahead. A queen, 2 rooks, and 2 knights. And white has 7 pawns and 4 pawns. So game is over. There goes another pawn. And white almost has his entire army intact. And black is going to have just a king and a pawn in a moment. There's no way to save the bishop on e8. There's no way to save the pawn on e7 after that. And if white wants it, he can collect the pawn on h5. And it'll just be a few moves before a checkmate. So, what can I say? You're developing your pieces. You've got 3 pieces out. Let's try for 4. Okay? Because white's not doing anything on b5. What do you want to do? Put a knight there? Okay, fine. Just develop a bishop. Are you afraid of this? Are you afraid of this? Attacking this? Well, don't worry. Let's see. Rook c8. You want to take this pawn and walk into a pin? I don't think so. Okay. So white's not planning to play knight b5. He's not. Okay. Your a6 doesn't help your development. If your king had been safe, none of this would have happened. Anyway, thank everyone for watching. I'll be back with more videos soon. Take care.